Welcome to This Explainer. Okay, we're diving right in today. We are going to break down one of the most traumatic, truly foundational literary prologues in modern fiction. We're exploring the profound psychological roots of Sarah, the protagonist of Francine Rivers' deeply emotional novel, Redeeming Love. Now, if you're already familiar with the story, you know her journey is incredibly intense. But today, our goal is to dissect exactly why. We're going to look closely at the deep-seated trauma established in literally the very first pages of her life, and how understanding just this single day is going to completely change how you view her character for the rest of the book. To really wrap our heads around the complex themes of illegitimacy, rejection, and just absolute abandonment that drive the entire narrative engine of the story, we have to start right at the beginning. By examining Sarah's tragic descent, we can start to understand exactly how a child's worldview gets completely shattered by the very adults who were solely responsible for protecting her. The author immediately plunges us into an 1850s New England setting, and she uses this brilliant literary device to do it. This epigraph serves as a really moody, atmospheric hook. Notice how this quote from Shakespeare perfectly contrasts the beautiful veneer of the scene we're about to enter with the incredibly dark reality of the adult's actions. It sets up this facade, right? Things are going to look incredibly pretty on the surface, but a profound, life-altering darkness is lurking just underneath. And then we get this second epigraph, which is a direct quote from the Book of John. This beautifully hints at the overarching themes of judgment, sin, and eventual redemption that are going to shadow Sarah's life long after the fateful day we're analyzing. It acts as this lens through which we're implicitly asked to view Sarah as the story unfolds, not with harsh judgment, but with profound, unconditional empathy. Section 1. The Illusion of Love, A Blue Dress and Broken Dreams. We start our chronological descent at what seems, on paper anyway, to be a pretty happy status quo. Young Sarah is dressed up in her absolute finest. She's got this beautiful blue dress with pink and blue ribbons. She's waiting so eagerly for a father she just idolizes. But I want you to notice the emotional contrast here. The physical beauty of the sunshine in that room is completely overshadowed by her mother's desperate, suffocating anxiety. Her mom is pacing, obsessing over Sarah's appearance, and essentially using her own child to seek validation from a man who is largely absent. Section 2. The Father's Arrival. The Shattering of Innocence. So the inciting incident of this entire trauma happens when Alex Stafford, Sarah's father, finally arrives on his black horse, and he brings this brutal, unapologetic coldness right into the room with him. During this really brief interaction, he gives Sarah a glass swan. This is a crucial motif, acting as a direct metaphor for Sarah's fragile innocence. It's beautiful, it's delicate, and it is about to be completely and utterly smashed by his careless hands. The true tragedy here, though, lies in a devastating character dynamics between her parents. Neither of them truly see Sarah as a human being, let alone a daughter. Her mother views Sarah strictly as leverage, this desperate living tie to a father she's dangerously obsessed with. And conversely, the father views Sarah purely as a problem, the living embodiment of an illegitimate mistake. She's basically just a pawn in a very toxic adult game. Just let the visceral weight of this text sink in for a second. When the mother pushes for acknowledgement, Alex outright denies Sarah. He coldly states, "I didn't want another child." He makes it brutally clear to the mother that he already has plenty of legitimate children with his actual wife. I mean, imagine being a young, impressionable kid in that room, dressed up to impress the man you idolize, only to hear him state plainly that your very existence is entirely unwanted. But somehow, the absolute abyss of his rejection gets even deeper moments later. He expresses this intense fury at the mother, yelling, "Could he not do it? Don't you realize? This is a deadly sin." He's referring to a doctor he specifically sent to quote-unquote solve the problem before Sarah was even born. He is literally angry that she wasn't aborted. This is the ultimate rejection. It's not just that he refuses to be a dad, he actively wishes she had never been brought into the world at all. Section 3. The Downward Spiral. A Mother's Defeat. It is honestly terrifying how fast a kid's entire world, their whole sense of security, can just completely unravel. It's like a house of cards. In a single morning, they're eagerly preparing that blue dress. By noon, the father makes his brutal visit and completely shatters that illusion. By the afternoon, right after he leaves, the mother suffers a total psychological breakdown. And by evening, Sarah is on a dark carriage ride with a woman named Cleo. In just one single day, a lifetime of security is destroyed. And you can see the immediate trauma taking root right here. Sarah internalizes this horrific rejection. She actually thinks to herself, it was a mistake she made. If she hadn't been born, Mama would be happy. This is textbook childhood trauma. Instead of blaming the deeply flawed adults in the room, Sarah genuinely believes that her very existence is the sole cause of her mother's immense sorrow. She takes the crushing burden of their sin directly onto her own small shoulders. Section 4. The Abyss. The Final Dark Abandonment. So this brings us to the moment the mother makes her desperate, incredibly dark decision to abandon her daughter. Right before leaving her with Cleo, the mother hugs Sarah and utters these cryptic words in a hushed, absolute panic. Don't you ever think about that, Sarah. It marks this chilling moment where the familial bond is just permanently severed. The mother is choosing her own despair and maybe some twisted, doomed pursuit of the father over the basic safety and life of her own child. Cleo, the woman she is left with, coldly informs Sarah of their destination. We will stay at the Four Winds Hotel. This plunges Sarah into a terrifying, chaotic environment filled with shouting men, drunken sailors, and just incredibly rough surroundings. It's a place of absolute vulnerability for a young, abandoned girl. The protective walls of her childhood home have completely vanished. Let's just look at the stark reality of this abandonment for a second. She is violently stripped of all family ties, left with a cold stranger, and surrounded by dangerous, unpredictable adults in a rowdy hotel. And finally, she's left entirely alone in a dark room to wait, holding onto a small bag, with a drunk man collapsing literally right outside her door. This cements the foundation of Sarah's trauma. She has effectively been sold or discarded into a dark future by the very people who were supposed to protect her. So, as we wrap up this explainer on the prologue, we're left with this massive, provocative core conflict. How can a child who has only ever known rejection from her creators ever learn to accept love? It's this exact question, born from just a single day of shattered innocence, that's going to define Sarah's harrowing, tragic, and deeply moving journey throughout the rest of the novel. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and I highly encourage you to keep this foundational trauma in mind as you explore the rest of the story.